Hey, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining me here at CBT News. Very much appreciate it. Google is constantly rolling out updates, and staying ahead of the curve is crucial if you're looking to maximize your digital strategy. So what's the latest? On today's show, we are joined once again by Brooke Furniss, who's the founder of BZ Consultants Group and host of the wildly popular Facts Not Feelings podcast. So thanks, Brooke, so much for joining us once again on the show. And what is Google up to? PMAX. What is it all? Tell our dealers what it's all about and why it matters.
Yeah, so this is something I actually had a client come to me and was asking about wanting to do some PMAX campaigns. And at our company, we do not do the advertising. We just hold people accountable.
Yeah.
I go, well, if you're bidding on your name, you probably shouldn't be doing that for their area. And here's the reason why. With PMAX, you can't exclude certain things, terms such as your dealer name. As I dove into this is around like February. Google announces that they're going to change everything. And for advertisers, this is awesome. So you're able to do all these things that you couldn't do previously. So examples of this would be, hey, I am bidding on my name. Like I said before, I'm bidding on my name from just search campaign. Well, we don't want that in the PMAX campaign. We want to exclude that. Before, you couldn't do that. So in essence, the PMAX campaigns, which is Performance Max, there are also VLAs. Performance Max is like a wide genre, a bunch of things it does. In particular, are VLAs. So when you bid on your name, you couldn't exclude that. Now you can, which is huge. So the clientele that's searching for that, they can go on your Google search campaign versus your PMAX and VLA campaign.
Okay.
So when you buy your name, that's something you can do. There's so many different things, whether it's reporting from this, you can now look at demographics. So if you want to exclude 18 to 24-year-olds, or, hey, we're doing a service campaign, probably want to do that more on mobile. We can now exclude and just or include only mobile and not desktop. You can do like what's called a URL. So if I only want to target CPO or EV, so if we have a Chevy EV campaign we're trying to do, we can market just that based on URL. So this update is been a very, very long time in the making, and all of us that are pull our hair out at night thinking, why can't we do these things? We can now do it, which is phenomenal.
So it's a good thing at the end of the day.
Very.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
Very good thing. Yes.
And everything you rattled off, maybe some of the marketing managers of dealer groups just caught and said, okay, I'm keeping up with Brooke. This is good. But there's probably a lot of GMs and dealer principals and managers that are like, what is she talking about right now? And before you jump in here, it's so vitally important that somebody like yourself is keeping an eye on the marketing people, right? And probably more specifically, the vendors out there that cater to the auto industry. That how do you know as a dealer if your marketing team or your ad agency, so to speak, is on top of all of this and doing all of these great things for your dealership?
That is a very, very great question, and one we can unpack over the next 2 days, to be quite honest. There's so many assets to this. So one, do you have access to your Google ad account? That's first and foremost.
Okay.
If you don't have access to it and you only have access to GA4, which is Google Analytics 4,
right,
you're missing a very, very large piece of what exactly going on. You really can't hold the advertising company accountable if you do not have access to Google Ads. Because in there, you can actually see where the ads are being served.
Right.
What's the location where they're being served?
Right.
What's the ad copy? All these little things, how they're set up. They have UTM, which is a really fancy way of saying, I think of it as like barcodes for Google.
Okay.
Google says, all right, this is coming from a paid campaign, and it's on, we'll go back to the Chevy Blazer. This is for a Chevy Blazer. Oh, this one's a service campaign. Then Google knows, okay, this needs to go under CPC traffic versus something else. So it sees the gobbledygook at the end of a URL. So all these little things you get into say, where are the ads being served? How often are they being served?
Right.
Because if you just get a report out of Google Analytics, you're missing a very, very large piece of the pie.
And have you found that most dealers do check that out and they do have logons to be able to check that out? Or is that something that the agencies go, no, you don't need that. Let us worry about it.
Well, there's a reason why I have my company. Let's put it that way. So I would love for everyone to be able to say, hey, this is your data. You have access to it. That is not the norm.
Okay.
What I find more and more is that you have to really plead with them to get access to things. Dealers don't a lot of times even know, or businesses in general, they don't know that that's their data and how important it is to have access to that. So they just fly blindly by agencies or website providers, their proprietary dashboard that you don't even know if that's real metrics or not. So to answer your question, is most probably don't, and if they do, they don't really know how to look at it, because it's like talking Chinese when you're trying to speak English.
Yeah, so maybe what dealers need is they need first and foremost access to that, but then also for their marketing team to spend a few hours with them and teach them and educate them on what all of this data means and how to read it properly so that they feel more in control of the spend, or at least have an understanding of what's happening with their marketing dollars, right? Rather than just saying, hey, we had a slow month or we had a slow week. Why? And where are we spending this money and what does it mean? What's it mean, right?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I had a meeting with a client yesterday, and we were going over, like, they had seen a dip in sales, but we looked at their traffic. I'm like, your traffic, like that time frame took off. Well, the ad company had changed some nomenclature of the ads, and okay, let's figure out what it is before you go and cast stones and say, oh, it's the agency's fault. Let's go back and look and say, hey, maybe this is not the agency's fault. Maybe this is your process in-house, because you have more traffic than ever. It's converting at a higher clip than ever. But once they get into your CRM, that's where it's fumbling. So it's a holistic approach to figure out, to look at everything. But you really do need to look at that and say, what's the good? What's the bad? What's the ugly? Because we can throw around terms, and we have more acronyms than NASA. Yeah. Let's be honest. The bottom point is, did I move more metal? Did I sell more vehicles? And did I have more ROs or more dollar per ROs? That's what the dealer cares about. Right. So we throw around these terms, and all that leads to that. But we really have to get in to say, how is that moving the needle, or is it not? Do we need to alter course a little bit and go a different direction?
Yeah, there's no question about it. I think dealers deserve that. To have that knowledge of what's happening with their ad dollars, rather than just saying, well, I don't know, so-and-so handles it, or XYZ agency handles it, and I just don't know. I think they need to take the time and become a student of that, right? It doesn't have to be every day, all day long, but there's got to be some ongoing educational process with dealers. I mean, they're spending a ton of money, and they really need to have a better understanding of that, right?
I 100% agree. And I would challenge anyone that's listening is, when you get those reports, have the whatever agency, whatever it is, whatever the vendor partner you have them actually show you your data, not out of their dashboard. Because if the dashboard, you don't know how that's been tweaked, and it may not be maliciously. It's just they're counting, what's called a key event or conversion as one thing versus we're counting it something else. So those reports are never going to align. So really have them as much as possible work out of your property in GA4 or whatever it's going to be, or build a looker studio, which is a whole other episode of bringing that data in, so we know exactly what we're looking at, and we're singing off the same sheet of music. Yeah, for sure. Hey, GA4 has been a hot topic for a while now. What are some of the biggest pain points dealers are still dealing with in this regard? Man, it's a never-ending one. In fact, just yesterday, over the weekend, inside of GA4, there were called custom definitions and dimensions. This just gets your reporting more robust, to keep it very high level here. That keeps flipping on me. Or I have a key event, which used to be called conversion. That keeps flipping. So, because continually, you have to be vigilant in getting in there and figuring out what has changed. What changed by just Google being Google? I mean, Google just announced this, I think it was this past week. You can now have annotations, which that was a big one, a lot of pain points for a lot of people, that they didn't have annotations. So for me personally, I have to get in every one of my clients' accounts multiple times a week just to make sure nothing is switched, because once it does switch, whether it's a setting or whatever you're tracking, that affects the reporting, and it's going to skew it either really good or really bad. And you want to make sure you have clean data when you're doing that. So it's a constant battle. I'd also say, there's still this misconception that you can measure all traffic out of Google Analytics. I am a Google Analytics nerd, 100% I am. I know that I'll never be able to measure appropriately Amazon traffic out of Google. There are other things that Google just doesn't play well with. So knowing how to look at that, but I cannot stress enough, is constantly get in there, or have someone that you trust get in there and figure out what has changed. Is our reporting still okay, or did Google switch something again? Right. Yeah, there's no question about it. If dealers, you're listening to this and going, wow, I really need to focus on this, and then maybe you need this young lady in your group, because she will keep an eye on things for you. And it's always great catching up with you, Brooke. I really appreciate it. Brooke Furniss, founder of BZ Consulting's, Consultants Group. Very much appreciated. Check out our podcast, by the way, Facts Not Feelings, anywhere you can get your podcast, right? Yes, sir. That is correct. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I know our producers in the control room going, we got to get her back on, because I got 3 more questions that time won't allow. But Brooke, thank you so much. Really appreciate you stopping by. Thank you. Thanks.
CBT News, your #1 resource for auto industry news and content.